Gordon's whistle. Gordon was cross. Why should Henry have a new shape? He grumbled. A shape good enough for me is good enough for him. He goes off gallivanting to crew, leaving us to do his work. It's disgraceful. And there's another thing. Henry whistles too much. No respectable engine ever whistles loudly at stations. It isn't wrong, said Gordon, but we just don't do it. Poor Henry didn't feel happy anymore. Never mind, whispered Percy. I'm glad you are home again. I like your whistling. Goodbye, Henry, called Gordon the next morning as he left the shed. We are glad to have you with us again, but be sure and remember what I said about whistling. Later on, Henry took a slow train and presently stopped at Edward's station. Hello, Henry, said Edward. You look splendid. I was pleased to hear your happy whistle yesterday. Thank you, Edward, smiled Henry. Shh, can you hear something? Edward listened. Far away, but getting louder and louder, was the sound of an engine's whistle. It sounds like Gordon, said Edward, and it ought to be Gordon, but Gordon never whistles like that. But it was Gordon. He came rushing down the hill at a tremendous rate. He didn't look at Henry, and he didn't look at Edward. He was purple in the boiler and whistling fit to burst. He screamed through the station and disappeared. Well, said Edward, looking at Henry. It isn't wrong, chuckled Henry, but we just don't do it. And he told Edward what Gordon had said. Meanwhile, Gordon screeched along the line. People came out of their houses. Air raid sirens started. 5 fire departments got ready to go out. Horses upset their carts, and old ladies dropped their parcels. At the big station, the noise was awful. Porters and passengers held their ears. Sir Topham Hatt held his ears too. He gave a lot of orders, but no one could hear them, and Gordon went on whistling. At last, he clambered into Gordon's cab. Take him away, he bellowed, and stop that noise. Still whistling, Gordon puffed sadly away. He whistled as he crossed the switches. He whistled on the siding. He was still whistling as the last deafened passenger left the station. Then 2 fidders climbed up and knocked his whistle valve into place. And there was silence. Gordon slunk into the shed. He was glad it was empty. The others came in later. It isn't wrong, murmured Henry, to no one in particular, but we just don't do it. No one mentioned whistles. Percy and the Trousers. On cold mornings, Percy often saw workmen wearing scarves. My funnel's cold. My funnel's cold, he would puff. I want a scarf. I want a scarf. Rubbish, Percy, said Henry one day. Engines don't wear scarves. Engines with proper funnels do, said Percy, in his cheeky way. You've only got a small one. Henry snorted. He was proud of his short, neat funnel. Just then a train came in, and Percy, still puffing, I want a scarf, I want a scarf, went to take the coaches to their siding. His driver always shut off steam just outside the station, and Percy would try to surprise the coaches by coming in as quietly as he could. 2 porters were taking some luggage across the line. They had a big load and were walking backwards to make sure that nothing fell. Percy arrived so quietly that the porters didn't hear him till the trolley was on the line. The porters jumped clear. The trolley disappeared with a crunch. Boxes and bags burst in all directions. Ooh-ee-er, groaned Percy and stopped. Sticky streams of red and yellow jam trickled down his face. A top hat hung on his lamp iron. Clothes, hats, boots, shoes, skirts, and blouses stuck to his front. A pair of striped trousers coiled lovingly around his funnel. They were gray no longer, Angry passengers looked at their broken luggage. Sir Topham Hatt seized the top hat. "Mine," he said crossly. "Percy," he shouted, "look at this." "Yes, sir. I am, sir," a muffled voice replied. "My best trousers, too." "Yes, sir. Please, sir," said Percy nervously. "I am very cross," said Sir Topham Hatt. "We must pay the passengers for their spoiled clothes. My hat is dented, and my trousers are ruined, all because you come into the station as if you were playing hide and seek with the coaches." The driver unwound the trousers. Sir Topham Hatt waved them away. Percy wanted a scarf. "He shall have my trousers for a scarf. They will keep him warm." Percy wore them back to the yard. He doesn't like scarves now. Henry sneezed. One lovely Saturday morning, Henry was puffing along. The sun shined, the fields were green, and the birds sang. Henry had plenty of steam in his boiler, and he was feeling happy. "I feel so well, I feel so well," he sang. "Trickety-trock, trickety-trock," hummed his coaches. Henry saw some boys on a bridge. "Peep, peep, hello," he whistled cheerfully. "Oh, oh, oh," he called the next moment, for the boys didn't wave and take his number, but dropped stones on him instead. They were silly, stupid boys who thought it would be fun to drop stones down his funnel. Some of the stones hit Henry's boiler and spoiled his paint. One hit the fireman on the head as he was shoveling coal, and others broke the carriage windows. "It's a shame," hissed Henry. "They've broken our glass. They've broken our glass," sobbed the coaches. The driver opened the first aid box, bandaged the fireman's head, and planned what he was going to do. They stopped the train, and the guard asked if any passengers were hurt. No one was hurt, but everyone was cross. They saw the fireman's bumped head and told him what to do for it, and they looked at Henry's paint. "Call the police," they shouted angrily. "No," said the driver. "Leave it to Henry and me. We'll teach those boys a lesson." "What will you do?" they asked. "Can you keep a secret?" asked the driver. "Yes, yes," they all said. "Well then," said the driver, "Henry is going to sneeze at them." "What?" cried all the passengers. The driver laughed. "Henry draws air in through his fire and puffs it out with smoke and steam. When he puffs hard, the air blows ashes from his fire into a smoke box, and these ashes sometimes prevent him from puffing properly. When your nose is blocked, you sometimes sneeze. If Henry's smoke box is blocked, I can make air and steam blow the ashes out through his funnel. We will do it at the bridge and startle those boys." Henry puffed on to the terminus, where he had a rest. Then he took the train back. Lots of people were waiting at the station just before the bridge. They wanted to see what would happen. "Henry has plenty of ashes," said the driver. "Please keep all windows shut till we have passed the bridge. Henry is as excited as we are, aren't you, old fellow?" And he patted Henry's boiler. Henry didn't answer. He was feeling stuffed up, but he winked at his driver like this. The guard's flag waved, his whistle blew, and they were off. Soon, in the distance, they saw the bridge. There were the boys, and they all had stones. "Are you ready, Henry?" asked his driver. "Sneeze hard when I tell you." "Now," he said, and turned the handle. "Atisha, atisha, achoo!" Smoke and steam and ashes spouted from Henry's funnel. They went all over the bridge and all over the boys, who ran away as black as soot. "Well done, Henry," laughed his driver. "They won't drop stones on engines again." "Your coat is all black, but we'll rub you down and paint your scratches, and you'll be as good as new tomorrow." Henry has never again sneezed under a bridge. Sir Topham Hatt doesn't like it. His smoke box is always cleaned in the yard while he's resting. He has now gone under more bridges than he can count, but from that day to this, there have been no more boys with stones.